Howdy, I'm Wokelux Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright, I am not going to hang around here for this thing to finish. I'm going to see if it can't just do it on its own while I'm someplace else, because there's like an hour of stuff for it to do. So we're going to go, I guess, hunt down some fuel. It looks like I'm out of fuel. I also need some food. So probably look for fuel on my way back to my new base. See how that goes. While we're doing that, I thought to talk about Community. I finished Community. Yeah, in the end, I didn't like it. It is definitely not my kind of show, which is weird because I like sitcoms. I did not like this one, and it especially got weird in the last season, last couple seasons. I don't quite understand the choice made in season 5 and 6. Um, it was like, I guess spoilers. So, like, you got this. I don't know. So you got these characters, right? And so the first character, the main dude, that they kind of start the show being about is what is going on? My road is full of animals now. Um, and he faked his bachelor's degree to become a lawyer. And then he was really good at it. He was a really good lawyer. Like, they stress how good a lawyer he was. And then he has to get a bachelor's degree to get his law credentials back, his lawyer credentials. So that's why he's there. And then there was a student who was like top of her class, but was taking, I think, Adderall to help her study, and had to go into rehab. And so that's why she's there, because I think she couldn't get into anywhere else. And then there was the football player who felt there was too much pressure, so he faked an injury to get out of being a football player, and then realized that he didn't actually know anything and had been using like other people at his school to do his homework and stuff. So that's why he was there. And then there was the character. She was like an activist. She didn't really have a particular cause. She was just like, down with the man and save the whales and all that. And then this other character, her husband had left her. Or no, she left her husband because he cheated on her. And then the last character was, then there was the film student whose father wanted him to follow him in his, his business, and um, stuff like that. So, anyways, and then there's the old guy who was just there. So that's where they all started at, and then as the seasons progressed, of course they had a storyline that progressed, and when they got to the end of season 4, the lawyer guy had got his degree, so he could go back to being a lawyer. But of course, it's a sitcom, so they had changed him, and he had become a better person. And so he didn't want to go back to being the corporate lawyer that he was before. Which somehow in the minds of the show translated into now he's a bad lawyer. And then they just basically wrote out the woman who had left her husband, and then they had gotten back together, and then she started a successful business, and then apparently she cheated on her husband, and now he had left her and taken the kids, and that was it. She was just gone at that point. Her store was still there, but she was just gone at that point. So I don't know what happened there. Like, I didn't look as to why that actress left the show. Clearly she left the show. And alright, what have I got? I do have some stuff I need to put away here. So we got some fat and some meat, some bones and bits from that car I just pulled apart, and some iron here, and then got some testosterone extract. Oh, you know what? Got all this here as well, and this as well, and then you can have this. Oh, I didn't put your pieces back in here. And so I thought that was weird, but understandable, because obviously the actor had left the show. I mean, she did a little like cameo in a couple of spots, but for the most part, she was just gone. And then the old guy was played by Chevy Chase, and so he left this show after season 4, apparently. Although, to be fair, it was probably best that his character did leave the show, because his character was racist, like, through the whole show. He was racist the whole show. It was just a foil for them to be able to do racist jokes for this sitcom the whole show. And I just I don't get it. I don't find it that hard not to do those kinds of jokes. But man, between them and Disney loves their racist jokes. Alright. You know what? There's like a ton of cars right here I can get gas from. So, yeah, and then like the one character was on her way to being a psychiatrist by the end of the show, or by the end of the 4th season. I feel like the 4th season was intended to be the last season, but then it was popular and everybody wanted to bring it back, and I think there must have been a gap between season 4 and season 5, and when they came back, they just decided to kill the show, because everything was so weird. And so like uh, the football player guy, well, they said the old guy died, played by Chevy Chase, and then the football player guy, he had to sail around the world on the guy's boat, and apparently he disappeared. You don't count as a car? Okay, there we go. And just vanished, and so they don't know what happened to him. He probably drowned in the ocean. That was his story, and uh, yeah, and the lawyer guy at the start of season 5, his practice failed, and so the one of the guys who he used to work with said that he was trying to start a lawsuit against the college, and so he got in on that, and then realized he loved the college, and so instead of trying to destroy the college, he saved the college, and then became a teacher at the college. But not really, not really. Like the whole show is just awful to me. I did not enjoy it. There were maybe 5 episodes out of 6 seasons that I would have said, yeah, that was all right. 5 episodes in 6 seasons. And yeah, like it makes no sense to me. Like the dude is just purported to be this amazing lawyer over and over. He does some amazing lawyer stuff, Basically he talks to people and they do what he wants. And right, and then his business fails. And instead of like trying to join a law firm or something, instead he becomes a drunk at a like that becomes his storyline, is that he's a functional alcoholic at the community college teaching like introduction to law. He goes from being this amazing lawyer that everybody wants to rehire as soon as he gets his bachelor's degree, to a functioning alcoholic. That's what they call him, a functioning alcoholic who teaches at a community college. And that's how he ends. That's 2 seasons of him after he stops being a lawyer, is him being an alcoholic who doesn't want to teach classes but does want to be at the college. Like, they became different characters at the end of season 4. I don't even remember what the girl who came from rehab wanted to be. But all of a sudden she was trying to be a forensics person, and like two of them had a alright ending. The one, she finished her forensics degree almost and got an internship with the FBI and headed off to Washington. The show takes place in Colorado. She headed off to Washington for her internship and decided she would stay there at the end of the show. And the other guy, he basically was like a filmmaker, and so he was doing a documentary. That's the show, is like the documentary, right? It's off and on. And so he got a job on a TV show. And so he left. And then, I don't know, the girl who was going to be a psychiatrist became a bartender instead. And because she went from being this activist uh, who was, I don't remember why she went back to college, but she eventually started trying to be a therapist, and then they're just like, yeah, that story's too hard, so we're just gonna make her into uh, a ditz whose name became synonymous with screwing everything up. And so they actually say on the show whenever they screw something, oh man, I just Brited it. Um, and yeah, and she just became a bartender. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being a bartender. Um, you know, I that's not what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with being a bartender. It just seemed like a weird, abrupt shift. Um, that she stopped trying to be a psychiatrist, which was her goal for so many seasons. I just don't understand the choices. It's like, yeah, no, we're just gonna have lots of unhappy endings. In fact, the show even points out in the show, in the final, was the final episode, that the show is not a good show, and they're like, look, this is what happens every episode. This character does this with placeholder words. This character does this with placeholder words. This character does this. This character does this. That's the formula. That's every episode of this show. And nothing changes. And I'm just like, yeah, I got to the end. I didn't like it. There were 3 episodes where they had a big. There's probably more than 5 episodes that I was okay with. They did some weird episodes where like they had paintball games. I kind of enjoyed the paintball games. They did a couple of episodes where they built like giant blanket forts, and I rather enjoyed the one where they were going to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest either blanket fort or I don't remember what the other thing was. Pillow fort? It might have been those two. It was either a pillow fort or a blanket fort, but there wasn't enough room in the college because everybody joins in, right? Uh, and there wasn't enough room in the college for both of them, so it turned into this Civil War thing that was kind of funny. Um, and then they had, like I said, 3 paintball episodes, like 2 blanket fort episodes. And there were a couple others that I thought were alright, but it was less than 10. It was definitely less than 10 episodes out of how many ever 100 I watched. I don't know if it made it to 100. It must have, though. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I did not enjoy it. And yeah, I watched it, but that's because I feel like you can't. I mean, you can, but I feel like I like to give an opinion after I'm done with something. I mean, I like to talk about whether I'm enjoying it or not while I'm doing it, but a real opinion after I'm done with it, rather than going, "Oh yeah, no, I played it for 5 minutes and it was awful," and yeah. I'm not saying it was awful, awful. Like I'm like, oh, I can't stand. I would laugh at least once an episode, but for a show that's purported to be one of the funniest shows ever, I expected to laugh, and I didn't find it funny. And the Scooby-Doo style hijinks, I don't like Scooby-Doo. The Scooby-Doo style hijinks of every episode just was grating on my nerves at some points. And the fact that they're just like, oh yeah, look, we got a racist character, and he's just going to say racist stuff every episode that he's in it. I'm just like, really? Like, was that necessary? Uh, and be like, oh, look, he's, the characters be like, oh no, he's being racist again. Yeah, your show is putting racist jokes on television. And I don't think Community is that old. Not that there was ever a time it was appropriate to put racist jokes on, but it was not, unfortunately, as frowned upon as it is now. It should have been. And then they're like, this is what cracks me up, right? So the show, I didn't see every episode because they pulled one of the episodes because the person dresses up like a dark elf because they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and a dark elf has like charcoal black skin, and they felt like it was too close to blackface. And yet, they did have the character dress up his hands as racial stereotypes and do racist jokes. And that episode made it in. So I'm not sure why you would take out the one where they're dressed like a fictional character, but leaving the one where they're doing actual racial stereotypes. Yeah. It's not a great show. Yeah, I couldn't believe that they just gave everybody such an awful ending, pretty much. I don't know. I found that to be weird. Oh yeah, I was gonna go get my bag back, but that's not how this works. I need to just put my bedroll up top here and put down a new chemistry station up here. I guess I should have been working on that. So I guess the other thing I want to talk about is we played. Yep, you gotta go. We played D&D this week. I was the DM this time, and so this is the Demon Plague campaign that I'm running, and they've been in town like the whole time since we started playing, and so they haven't reached the point yet where they're definitely going to be confronted about some of the things that they've decided to do. And one of the things that I didn't think about it while we were playing, but I thought about it afterwards, is there's this guy last session who was, he was doing it before the last session, but last session they discovered that this guy had been killing people, and they confronted him, and then they fought him, and they killed him. And he was one of the town's store owners. And now, of course, they could have knocked him out or something, but they opted to kill him. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily like it's it's D&D, it's fantasy, it's a frontier town, so it's a frontier justice kind of thing. It's fine. Like, I don't think they're going to have any fallout from that in particular. But the town is in the middle of being, I should go get some wood too here. Is in the middle of this apocalypse that's happened. This catastrophe, calamity, not apocalypse. It could turn into an apocalypse. It's not there yet. And so the people are starving. Supplies are super limited. Wow, that takes a long time to unpack that. All right, well, let's see what I got to do to make this chemistry station. And they opted to rob the place and just took everything that was there. 100 forged iron, 3 cooking. Oh, right. I need cooking pots. So I need wood to start up my forge up here. so I can make cooking pots. And so I feel like they'll probably be confronted about what they've done there. And then, so last night they got to a tricky situation. I'm not gonna lie, it's a tricky situation. But their choices were bizarre, in to me. So, the there's this guy. He runs the town bakery and mill. He's an older man, and his wife married him for his money, and she is much younger than he is. And um, she was fine with the marriage as it was until the calamity, because the calamity destroyed huge portions of the town. And the book says that every person she associated with was killed during the calamity. And that with the loss of most of the town and supplies and things like that, her husband has gone crazy and is hoarding his gold. He got an inheritance at one point. She knows about it. It's a lot of money, and uh, so he is afraid someone's going to steal it, and so he has stopped spending gold on her, spending money on her. And so now there's no point for her being there. She has children, but she apparently doesn't care about her children either in the book, since she's willing to just leave them. And so she has decided that she is just going to kill herself. And so the players have to, I mean, they don't have to, but the players have the opportunity to save her. And so they get hired to by the husband to guard his gold. And so they go and I didn't get any. I need some more seeds. I want to plant some more trees here. And so while they're guarding the gold, she sneaks out of their rooms at the back of the bakery to talk to the adventurers, and she wants to know what it's like outside the valley. And then while they're talking to her, she starts crying, and she's talks about how there's nothing left here and there's no reason to go on, and how everyone she knew is dead, and so they and that it's probably better if she just stops permanently. And so they roll their rolls, and they manage to roll high enough to tell that she's serious. And their option was to kill her husband. They offered to kill her husband for her. Like, they thought he was abusive. And so, I mean, there's no evidence of that. I never gave any evidence of that. They just decided he was abusive, and they're like, hey, we can kill your husband for you if it'll make you feel better. And I'm like, what kind of choice? Why would that be your go-to? Hey, so, I don't have any iron in here. What does it take to make a pot? I know or it used to be made in here. Yep, cooking pot. Oh, I don't have any clay in here either. Do I have clay in here? I do have some clay in here. And maybe I'll run back to my other place and see what's available there, and maybe I can make my cooking pots there easier as soon as my guy goes down this ladder. So So I'm like, she's like, no, no, he's not abusive. Why would you want to kill him? He hasn't really done anything wrong. Where did I leave my bike? Okay. And so the book says if they'll get her out of town, she'll go instead of killing herself, which is good. And so they they're so bizarre. So they give her some money, they give her some supplies, and so she gathers clothes and stuff and leaves and heads off. And so uh, then they're like, she told them about her husband's money, and they're like, all right, we're gonna rob this guy, and they're like, but we should wait, and we'll tell him that his wife ran off, and then we'll give it a couple of days, and then we'll rob him. And or no, they said we'll just wait and we'll sit here and we'll guard the place like we were hired to do, and then he can pay us in the morning, and then we'll come back when he's not expecting it, and then we'll rob him like he thinks someone's trying to do. And I'm trying really hard not to interject into their choices, but I was just like, I'm pretty sure he's gonna notice his wife is missing in the morning. Uh, you know? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Uh, so then they're like, all right. So we'll stick with that plan, but we'll tell him that the wife said she had to go out of the building in the middle of the night, which she clearly wouldn't do. I made it clear that she wouldn't leave on her own, and I mean she left because they helped her, right? Um, but I don't know. So they were going to tell the husband that she said there was an emergency in town, and so she left and hadn't come back. And well, the husband goes crazy because his wife is missing, because he's controlling and doesn't believe them because he's crazy. It's one of the reoccurring themes in this campaign is that exposure to what has happened that caused the calamity is making people crazy. And so it says if his wife is not there in the morning, he goes insane and blames the adventurers if they're still there. And so they're still there. He confronts them. They tell him that his wife had left. He questions them about it. They try to persuade him. They rolled terrible. He attacks. Now he's a commoner. A commoner has 4 hit points. It's not a lot. And so I'm like, all right, everybody roll initiative, because he is attacking you with a club that he picked up. And so everybody rolls initiative. The warlock goes first. The warlock immediately casts Eldritch Blast at the man, rolls high enough to hit, and then rolls 8 points of damage. So in D&D, funny thing is, if you double someone's total health in a single attack, they're dead. So he killed the man, and as I'm saying he killed the man, the other guy, he's like, my character said they were gonna do non-lethal damage. I'm like, well, good for them, but he didn't. And he's like, yeah, no, I wasn't. I was protecting myself. And so now they killed him. Well, the thing is that the wife left her husband with their 3 children, and they just killed the husband, and now there are 3 children. And so I reminded them that there were 3 children, and so they took the body and they tucked it into a bag of holding that they have, and then they talked to the children and told the children. Now the children are 2 6-year-olds and a 3-year-old. So they told the children that their parents had, oh man, their parents had left in the middle of the night, and that they didn't know when they'd be back. But they were awake when this went down. They were just in their room, and so I'm like, yeah, no. The one of the 6-year-olds says to you, "But we just saw Papa. What do you mean he left in the middle of the night?" And they're like, "Oh crap, we didn't think about that. They're old enough to know things." Like, what is wrong with you guys? And so they one of them ran off to talk to this woman that they had met in town and tell her something. And so they get there. The guy gets there and he's like, says like, well, we were guarding the mill last night, and this guy broke in, and they had punched one of them to put a bump on his head so that it would look like they had been attacked in the night. And so they said that it happened on that guy's watch, that someone had broke in, and oh, of course, all the iron is out of this place now. Well, that was a wasted trip. Well, you know what? By the time I get back, there should be enough iron and clay in there to make my pots, I guess. Man, I need to finish the story. So he talks to the woman, and he's like, "Yeah, so we got attacked, or we were guarding the place. One of us was on watch. He gets attacked, and then that guy kidnaps the 2 people who run the mill." And so the woman was like, "Well, what about the children?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, right." So the father was there this morning, and he attacked. And I'm like, wait. You just told her 2 different versions in the same sentence. So she no longer believes them, and wants to know what they've done. And so he's like, well, I was getting my story confused. And so the father found out that the wife was missing, and he attacked them. And she's like, the miller attacked the 4 of you. And so she went to get the children, and they decided they better hightail it out of town and go do some other things, because they couldn't. The dude couldn't keep his story straight in the middle of telling this story. Like, so they're on their way out of town now, finally, to go to the first dungeon. But man, it was. I'm just like, what kind of choices are you guys? Like, it's great that you saved that woman, but you didn't have to kill her husband. You didn't have to lie to the councilwoman. You could have just said, hey, the miller's wife ran off last night, and the miller attacked us because he felt we were involved, and we had to defend ourselves, and he died in the process, and we need someone to take care of the 3 children. And it's like, Oh yeah, the truth might have worked there, huh? I didn't even think about that. No, you try to concoct some weird, elaborate story. At first, they wanted to say that goblins had come into the middle of the town. The mill is the dead center of town. There are guards patrolling the town. um, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. And they decided that that probably wouldn't work because I mean they asked me if goblins had ever raided inside the town, and I'm like, no, that didn't happen ever. I mean, maybe at one point, but not recently. So yeah, uh, I liked. There's another thing that they did before we go here that kind of cracked me up was they're trying to loot the place, right? And so they roll really good and really bad, two different ones. And so I'm like, yeah, the one guy, he's a thief, so he's gonna look at all the places where people would hide their goods, but he can't find anything. And the the other guy is just like pulling out drawers and dumping them out because he rolled really bad. And the thing is that the dude hid his gold bars um, in a hole in the floor, but his normal money is just there in the pouch at his waist because he was going to pay them in the morning. But they put the body, they put the body in their bag of holding and didn't search it, and so all the money they expect him to have is I'm gonna put these in here. I think. You know, I'm gonna put half of these in here. There we go. And all right, I need. I don't remember what I need now. And so like, man, where's his gold? We know he's got gold. He was gonna pay. Maybe he just wasn't gonna pay us at all. And I'm just like, oh, you guys, like, why didn't you search the body? I didn't tell him that because I just think it's too funny that they can't figure out where the gold went to. Where did the gold go? Where would a merchant keep his gold? Check, check, check. All right, I need the beaker and the forged iron. Forged iron. I thought I just had a bunch of. I guess I put it in here. Where did my beakers go? What did I do with those? Oh, they're in here. Okay. There we go. I have my very own chemistry station. Thanks. But yeah, it was a pretty funny night. Those guys, the choices they make are just, they're crazy. All right, with that, be better than small things, lean to the light. I will talk to you later.